Good afternoon and welcome to IBA News this Tuesday, the 2nd of August. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy, joining you live from Jerusalem. Ali Abu Hassan, a 20-year-old civil engineering student from Hebron, was identified as the terrorist who tried to board the light rail at the capital's Jaffa Street station last month, armed with explosives. Details released for publication by police this morning reveal that Hassan, who prepared the makeshift bombs at his home, packed them with the nails dipped in rat poison and had intended to blow himself up. Police revealed that he had left a will at the Polytechnic University in Hebron where he studied. According to police, Hassan conducted a number of experiments with explosives in open areas near his home before preparing the bombs to be used in the attack. On the 14th of July, 3 days prior to the unsuccessful attack, he crossed into Israel from the West Bank in an area where there was no security barrier. Hassan was arrested by a light rail security guard who became suspicious of his actions and detained him while alerting police. Sappers defused the pipe bombs found in his backpack, which also contained knives. In another overnight raid in the West Bank town of Dura, security forces arrested another 8 Palestinian terror suspects, including a relative of Mohammed al-Fakir, the terrorist who murdered Rabbi Michael Mark in a drive-by shooting near Otniel last month. Al-Fakir was killed in a shootout with security forces last week who attempted to arrest him. The army said al-Fakir's relative was arrested in a safe house used by the terrorist after the attack. Security officials said all those arrested are suspected of assisting al-Fakir. Security forces also confiscated a car that al-Fakir had purchased to use in another terror attack he was planning. Police are reportedly questioning a former aide to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a new probe concerning fundraising allegations relating to a 2007 smear campaign against former Prime Minister and Defense Minister Ehud Barak in the Arab community. According to local media reports, police are probing how the sum of some 140,000 shekels was raised in a campaign aimed at preventing Barak from making a political comeback. Police from the fraud squad Lahav 433 reportedly raided the offices of a PR firm that worked for Netanyahu. The report said police investigators learned that an official from Netanyahu's office approached the company seeking to purchase an advertising spot in the Arabic language media to remind the readership of Barak's role in the October 2000 demonstrations in which 13 Arabs were killed. Channel 10 reported the advertising company testified that Netanyahu's office had paid out some 25,000 shekels and even produced the original check. It is unclear whether the sum was reported properly to the authorities. Shock and outrage, meanwhile, in the northern town of Nesher, where a 19-year-old pizza delivery man lost his life overnight in what appears to be a robbery that went wrong at a local pizzeria. The victim, Daniel Chaikin, was shot by 2 robbers who violently held up the place located in the town's Hashalom Boulevard. Details of the incident are not yet clear, and the police have launched an investigation. According to initial reports, Chaikin got caught in the middle of the robbery. He was shot by 2 suspects who fired at him as they tried to flee with the money and attempted to grab his scooter. Chaikin apparently tried to block them and was then shot in the head at point-blank range. He was critically wounded and evacuated to the Rambam Medical Center in Haifa, where he succumbed to his wounds. Chaikin will be buried in his hometown at 7 o'clock this evening. The Knesset overnight approved the bill to repeal a law secured by Yesh Atid in the last parliament, which would have required Haredi elementary schools to teach the core curriculum or lose funding. The bill passed its second and third readings in the late-night parliamentary session, with 41 voting in favour and 28 against. The U-turn, part of the coalition agreement with the United Torah Judaism Party, means Haredi schools will not be required to teach at least 11 weekly hours of English, maths and science. Yesh Atid criticised the reversal as unfair both on Haredi students who would be prevented from supporting themselves and their families in future, and on secular society on whom the burden of supporting them will fall. Jewish Home MK Moti Yogev, who voted for the repeal, said he hoped more Haredim would study the core curriculum as a result of natural processes, but was against forcing the matter through legislation. Amid ongoing political wrangling, the Knesset last night also passed the first reading of the bill to postpone the establishment of the new Public Broadcasting Corporation until the end of April 2017, with an option of starting even sooner, after the 1st of January, if the corporation is ready to begin operations. However, that move will require the approval of the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister. 58 members of Knesset voted in favour of the bill, 22 opposed and 1 abstained. In related news, the Knesset Economics Committee convened today to prepare the public broadcasting legislation for its second and third readings. The debate turned out to be stormy, with many committee members lashing out at each other in disagreement. Well, fresh out of those heated deliberations is MK Dr. Nachman Shai from the Zionist Union, and he joins me now in the studio to try to make sense of it all. Dr. Shai, thank you for coming again.
Make sense, you mean?
Well, we're
There's
trying.
no sense there.
Well, already you've clarified that point for us.
I answered the first question.
The new corporation now is meant to open in April with a possibility of starting even in January. Is it really going to happen this time round?
Yes. Actually, it turned all over now. The government initiated the new corporation. I was all the way against. Now it happens, it seems like the government is lost hope with the new corporation, not with the old one, as well as with the old one, and they want to stop and maybe to return to the old one, which is totally crazy. And
you mean to cancel the corporation and stick with the authority?
Yeah, and then to postpone it endlessly until both of them will die, literally. So we said today, the opposition said, excuse us, government, we are now taking the initiative and we will push it forward. And since the original day was October, it postponed on, they wanted to postpone it in a year and a half until
mid-2018 and then 2017.
So we called it back to April next year, and if possible, even January 1st. And the earlier, the best.
So you expect this time it's really going to happen?
Yes, there's no other alternative. But I'm telling you, we are pushing forward. The government is pushing backward.
Okay, well, the committee today approved an amendment to the bill which stipulates that the new corporation will have to broadcast from Jerusalem only in the middle of June. Now, you're not a big fan of that, but you voted in favor. Why is that? Because
the alternative was not to broadcast at all. It seems like that came up at the last moment in order to add another barrier on the way towards a full broadcast. And we said, guys, we like Jerusalem, we love Jerusalem. I'm one of the chairmen of the Jerusalem lobby, the Jerusalem caucus. The mayor of Jerusalem was there, but I see no other alternative. And if it depends on Jerusalem, now we are working on a compromise. It will be in Jerusalem much earlier, and I hope we can satisfy everyone.
Well, assuming that the Broadcasting Corporation isn't ready to begin operations in Jerusalem next year, it's only just purchased a new building.
So few months.
What is this interim solution?
No, a few months.
It'll be ready to operate in Jerusalem in a few months? At the new building?
No, a few months after the official first day.
It'll be ready to run in Kanfei Nesharim already?
Yes.
In the new building. Okay,
yes,
what is the interim solution?
That's more or less the interim. The government said, if you are not ready, don't start at all. So from that we learned that they really don't want to start at all.
But once it is ready, where will it be broadcasting from? From Modi'in?
It will start, yes.
From Modi'in. Kol Israel will go out from Modi'in.
No, the Kol Israel, the news will be from Jerusalem.
Okay.
There's no Kol Israel from Jerusalem, and it will be actually from Modi'in. Also, we are living in a world that you really don't know where you are and what you are doing, but it will be from Jerusalem.
Why does Israel need public broadcasting in the first place?
Are you British or American?
British.
So British you should understand. American would not. British, we are following the British system with BBC. Most of the European countries have public service. America is different, mostly commercial. There's a public service, but it's different. I believe that side by side with commercial powers, we should have a commercial television, we should have a public one, which the major force will be how to serve best the public interest.
Which is something you believe the commercial channels aren't able to satisfy?
But it's not their first priority. Even if they wouldn't admit. They are commercial, they're supposed to make money. And public channel has different criteria.
Okay. Dr. Shai, you've been active in efforts to mandate English language broadcasting in legislation. Much has been done with Arabic and other languages. Where does this stand? So far we understand that requests to the Broadcasting Corporation to clarify whether they plan to include English.
We don't know whether there is a news broadcast there in English or not. We don't know if there is in English. But let me tell you, I'm already in the process of approving I-24, which is privately owned. But it's a news service which currently is coming out of Jaffa, but going all the way out of the country, but not in the country.
But in terms
inside.
of legislation to make sure that public broadcasting includes English
tried.
among the variety.
I tried and I failed all the way.
That's dead and buried now?
I don't know what will be the outcome, but I tried to add it to the original bill and I failed. They didn't want to. I hope they will be convinced. I think it's a legitimate public service that English speaking, and by the way, not only English speaking, of course Arab speaking, we have an Arab channel. And what about French? We have scores of thousands of French-speaking Olim Chadashim and others in Israel. They're all entitled to have news in their own favorite language.
Dr. Shai, moving on to another matter, the Labour leadership anxieties. Is the Zionist Union...
From trouble to trouble.
From trouble to trouble.
Yes.
Is the Labour Party or the Zionist Union going to join the coalition in the end?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Are there still efforts going on behind the scenes?
Bibi lost... It's not that Bougie lost the chance. Bibi lost the chance to have a kind of a relatively moderate government. He made his own decision to have Lieberman in, and that meant very clearly that Bougie will be out. He tried later on. He's still trying, if you ask me, this way or another. But I think there's no chance.
Is the Labour Party not willing to sit in a government with Avigdor Lieberman?
No, it's not Lieberman the case. It's the whole way they are going. The fact that this is a purely right-wing government, and we can do very little in this government. So we better stand opposition, do our job, and wait for the next round.
Dr. Shai?
It will come.
It will come. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
After 3 weeks, the strike at the nation's courts has come to an end. Workers returned today to business after a deal was reached between the Treasury and the Histadrut Labour Federation. Histadrut chairman Avi Nissenkon said that more than 2,000 employees in the court system will receive a significant pay raise and guaranteed that the computerized systems within the courts will be upgraded. The deal paves the way for a 4.5-year no-strike agreement. The weeks-long strike delayed the handling of thousands of legal cases last month, including the verdict on former president and convicted rapist Moshe Katsav's request for early release, which will now be announced on Thursday. Still with prisons, the Prisons Parole Board convened today to debate the request for early release by Rabbi Yoshiyahu Pinto, who was convicted of bribing a senior police officer and other corruption offences after pleading guilty in a plea bargain. Pinto, who suffers from cancer, has so far served 5 months of his 1-year jail sentence and is now seeking to cut his jail time by 1/3. The parole board will announce its decision on Thursday. Earlier this year, the Supreme Court rejected the rabbi's appeal to convert his jail sentence to 6 months community service on account of his ill health. And sticking with ill health, the Unilever Israel revealed today that aside from its Champion Cornflakes breakfast cereal brand, which was found to be contaminated with salmonella, another cereal brand, the chocolate-flavoured Cocoman, is also believed to have been contaminated, and not the Deli Flake series as previously reported. The cereals are marketed under the Telma label. Currently, Unilever is focused on trying to prevent sales from plummeting, with supermarket officials saying sales have already dropped by some 30%. Unilever came under harsh criticism after it attempted to conceal details of the contamination in order to avoid public panic. When details became public, the company said it removed tens of thousands of contaminated packages and had purified its production lines, and is only marketing products that have passed quality tests. Israel's leaders will soon be able to travel abroad in the country's own private Israel Air Force One plane, ending years of using chartered aircraft. According to details released for publication earlier this week, the plane is being built by an Israeli company and is expected to be completed in a year at an estimated cost of $70 million. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Reuven Rivlin will be able to travel aboard the plane outfitted with special defense systems and advanced communication systems, allowing them to maintain contact with the ground at all times. The name of the company tasked with constructing the plane and additional details concerning the special technology and specialized equipment on board are subject to censorship for security reasons. The plane will have an estimated maintenance cost of approximately $7.8 million a year. 145 new immigrants landed from France in Israel today. The first batch of new immigrants from Paris, Nice, Toulouse and Marseille arrived this morning, with the second batch due to arrive in the country a short time from now. Their arrival was facilitated by the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, run by Rabbi Yechiel Eckstein. Due to the rise in terror and anti-Semitic attacks in France, the number of French immigrants remains relatively high compared to other countries, but saw a slight drop in the first 6 months of this year, with 1,858 French immigrants arriving in the Jewish state compared to 2,745 in the first 6 months of 2015. A separate group of 19 new immigrants from the United States also arrived in Israel this morning. Welcome home. A letter written by Oskar Schindler, the German industrialist who saved some 1,200 Jews from the Nazis during the Holocaust, is for sale online for the sum of $32,500. The two-page letter, typewritten in German to his bookkeeper Itzhak Stern in 1963, deals with Schindler's finances. It was put up for sale by one of Stern's descendants. In 1963, the government of Israel named Schindler righteous among the nations. He died in Hildesheim, Germany in October 1974 and was buried in Jerusalem. The letter appears on the website momentsintime.com, which deals with rare letters and other historical documents. Amari Stoudemire, the six-time NBA All-Star champion, has officially signed his 2-year contract with Hapoel Jerusalem. The 33-year-old made the announcement at a press conference in Madison Square Gardens in New York last night, saying his decision was a very emotional one. Stoudemire, who retired from the NBA last Tuesday and has been part owner of Hapoel Jerusalem since 2013, said playing for Jerusalem allows him to embark on a spiritual journey while continuing his professional career. He added that he looks forward to moving to Israel with his wife.
I'm sure everyone has been documenting my journey as far as with the Holy Land over the past 6, maybe 7 years. My interest in playing in Israel, and at this moment, that dream has come true. I'm now able to play for Hapoel Jerusalem, a team that I'm looking forward to playing with, teammates there that are looking forward to my arrival. So it's official that I will be playing for Hapoel Jerusalem, and I will be in Jerusalem for it's a 2-year contract, and so I'm excited about the next journey.
And on a happy note, a cause for celebration, former President Shimon Peres celebrated his 93rd birthday today. The Nobel Peace Prize laureate stepped down as president in 2014 at the end of his term and now devotes his time to the Peres Center for Peace. In an interview with Bloomberg on the eve of his birthday, Peres insisted that technology can create conditions for peace in the Middle East. Science doesn't have flags or borders, he said. In finance, shares are down on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, while the shekel is up. In weather, there will be a slight drop in temperatures yesterday.